Hi, Mochismo Eugene. Welcome to another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share. Give a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Pass it on if you believe someone else would benefit from it. I'd appreciate that. Typically, the narcissist, the one when you walk into a bar or a restaurant, whether they are already there or if they enter once you've been seated and are enjoying your meal with your family. The narcissist is typically the one who comes in on their phone, glued to their ear, talking loud, like they're very important, like this call is so important, but at the same time, they are trying to get a table to be seated, and the hostess is interjecting her spiel or his spiel to say, "Sir, do you need a table? How many?" Whatever, whatnot. The narcissist typically would hold this hostess at bay when there's 3 or 4 families behind this narcissist waiting to be seated. They put everyone on hold. It's all about them. They're self-centered, like nobody's business. And so this same narcissist typically would be seated at some point, talking with their hands and to the hostess, giving the illusion that whatever's on this call is so super important. They're talking all of this mumbo jumbo jargon to appear like they have business deals through the roof, and all of it is a con game. They're conning somebody on that phone. They're manipulating somebody while they're on that phone. See, they're working the room. They're working multiple positions at the same time. They always have a con going on. So they're conning the person on the phone in the business deal. They are having the hostess put on hold. They're looking around, getting a head count of everyone who is observing them to see if they have an audience, because you know they need an audience to perform their magic tricks of look at me and how important I am. So they proceed to be seated. They're talking loud. They're talking at not a moderate tone. They're talking because this is by design. They need everyone and their grandmother to hear the BS that they have going on that phone. A lot of times nobody's even on the phone. I remember talking to a person one time. It was a female, and I was like, you ain't even on the phone. And the phone was like, obviously you can push a button and the screen will go dark, but you don't even hear anybody on the phone. I've seen people walking down the street pretending they're on the phone. I've seen people standing around in places of business trying to appear to be important on this same type phone. And so when they're seated with this phone, they end the call like something to the effect, okay, I'm busy right now. I got to be seated. I got to eat, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, we'll seal the deal once I get back to the office. Hang the phone up. And so what happens is, if they're in attendance with their family, which this is the scenario, they're embarrassing their family all at the same time. So their family is kind of accustomed to this kind of shish show everywhere they go. And so they sit down, and once they get off of that phone, now they're ready to pay their family attention and pretend and give the illusion that they're respectful. And you will find that just 5 seconds ago, they were talking intellectual business wise on that phone, using big words that they don't even know the definition of. And then they go on to sit there with their family, and they still begin to talk, not at a moderate tone. They want everybody in that restaurant to hear what their conversation is. And they'll go from intellectual, respectful, till they would start swearing, using swear words like a sailor. And it's all an obsession for attention. It's all an obsession. And this will go on because you got to understand, people pay these type of individuals attention. They pay them attention, whether it's good attention or bad attention. Most people are looking at them like, they're not envying them. They're like, man, this is pretty rude. But no one dares to say anything. But why should you? Because you know this person is obnoxious, seemingly, but they're more than just obnoxious. They are deeply disordered. They have no idea about rights and wrongs to the degree of, this is just not right for me to be conducting myself in this manner. Because guess what overrides that conduct? The need for speed, the need for attention, adoration, adulation, admiration. They need this. This is a fuel source they draw from on a regular basis. If they can get that attention, good attention, bad attention, they will do cartwheels, backflips, you name it. It does not matter. They're not thinking about, wow, I'm looking like a straight ass. But nobody's saying anything because we're talking in our breath. But we're paying these people attention. And this is how they are able to continue to conduct themselves in the way that they conduct themselves. And I've always said, just kind of like, you got to ignore these people. I mean, you can know what's going on. You can hear what's going on with them. But because they're always looking and scanning the room. You're casually, eating your food, and every now and again you look up, and in your mind, you're like, man, are they going to cease? When is this going to end? Subconsciously, and sometimes you might even verbalize. You're like, wow, that guy's still going. She's still going. Would have thought they've settled down by now, seeing that everyone's in here is just kind of enjoying the meal, and the ambience of the room is quiet, and you can hear a little bit of chatter, but you don't know what that person one table over is talking about, because they have a moderate conversation, a moderate tone. But not the narcissist. They want their conversation at their table to be the conversation. They're constantly drowning out everybody else. They're force feeding everybody else their BS. And so this is typically what you see out in public when you go out and you try to enjoy a nice meal. They are always on their phone. Even when this narcissist I just said got off the phone on the call, they are having half-ass conversations with their wives or their kids. They're half-ass paying attention. They're asking them questions like, what happened at school today, Johnny? How's the game? How's this? How's that? Hey, Peggy, how was your cheerleading practice? They're not even looking at their children. They're not even focusing on what their child is saying. And the child, you can look at the children and see that this is just something they've grown accustomed to. They don't reply with enthusiasm as a child normally would. You don't see the glee in their eyes. You don't see anything that remotely looks like excitement in the children, because it's so robotic. They just answer the question in a very stoic manner and continue to eat their food, because they know that father, in this case, a father, the narcissist, it could be a mother. They're not in tune with their children. They're really not. But people who are looking on and observing them, a lot of times, if you're not, you don't have good awareness of yourself, you will subconsciously admire this conversation or this individual, because what you are witnessing is an illusion, but the illusion sometimes has us admiring what they're doing as far as the appearance. They look like they have everything going on with themselves, because a lot of us get caught up with things. We're looking at the car he pulled up in. We're looking at the Mercedes, BMW, whatever he's driving, the Lambo. We're looking at that, but we don't realize we shouldn't measure a man by his materialistic thing. We should measure a man or a woman by their character. And that sounds cliche, but the thing is, anybody given the right situation or into the wrong kind of situations or circumstances or jobs or you know what, could get a car that's very exotic or elaborate or expensive. All you got to do is have a decent credit score. You can get debt. You can look the part. But I normally look at a person, not just people with high-end cars. I look at people just individually as it pertains to their conduct, and just, casually observe how they're moving, just because it is what we do as human beings. But I don't observe them for the fact that they have this or they have that, externally. I really do. And that's what draws me in about people who really do seem to have a decent conduct. And I said decent conduct. They seem respectful to their wives, their girlfriends, their children. They seem to be respectful to those who are around them. They have a good idea of how they should be considering other people in capacities where I named, like dinner or a restaurant. They're not boisterous. They're not arrogant. They're not obnoxious. Now, you may see this same situation happening in a lot of restaurants. People are loud, they're giddy, they're loud, and they're happy and they're jubilant. There is a distinct difference in that type of excitement. They're allowing everybody to talk. Everybody's getting a little bit of, it's a give and take. It's an equal exchange of conversation. There's a pause, allowing other people to speak. They're genuinely happy to see each other. It just seems like everybody's on an even playing field. Now, this scenario I gave you prior, which was the narcissist, you will immediately know the difference. And this is why I'm talking about this, because in life we go out and we see people doing things and partaking into the fruits of their labor, like eating, the fair, the carnival, concerts, casino, wherever you might go, you see people partaking of life. They're partaking in life. They're enjoying things. They're in the park. They're everywhere. No one person can dictate and say what and how a person should live per se. But we do have the right to observe people in the way that they conduct themselves. And we do have every right to observe that conduct. And we have the right to not be in agreement, not appreciate that conduct just as much as we can appreciate that conduct. That is our right. But more than that, it's more than a right. It's a duty that we have when we see this type of conduct, because the world at large knows. They know what we know. And when I say they know what we know, these malignant and maladaptive type people, these cluster Bs, this thing is well known among men and women. This is something that I think the world at large is very attuned to, be it people who are observing that these people are a hot mess. We're no longer calling them just toxic people. We know the word. We've heard the word. The word is out in the atmosphere. So narcissists know when you are in tune or aware or awake, because of the reservations that you have. If you're a little reserved, you may not be even awake. But what the narcissist perceives is that you're no sucker. So when you're reserved, believe it or not, the narcissist is got double duty now, because they have to start thinking, which they don't do that a lot of. They're thinking, wow, this person ain't falling for this. I wonder if they know what I am. This is why you hear these stories on TV right now, whereas people are doing all of these atrocious crimes, like this girl Daybell. and her husband, under the skies of religion, Christian religion, she killed her daughter and her son. And it's often these people are saying their children are demon possessed. Isn't that funny? The demon. Because they project. They love to project their mentality on other people. You know what those children were? They were chosen. They were very angelic children. They were chosen. It was something good within them that she wanted to just kill off. And thinking that she could physically kill them, it would kill off everything good about them. And even in prison, giving an interview, these individuals are so flamboyant. It's kind of like the news people, the interviewers, Chris Hansen, or not Chris Hansen, forget his name. He went in and interviewed this girl, Daybell, and I watched it for a few minutes. It was, I ain't even say it was stomach churning. It was just, I was like, wow, this is the problem. We get the media, they sensationalize people like Chris Watts. And by the way, Casey Anthony is on TikTok. She's trying to almost got something like a GoFundMe in support. She's trying to be an advocate of sorts for her daughter, her dead daughter, and herself. So it's basically like, if I could say it, and I'm not really a fan of her either because she's very contentious. Nancy Grace mentioned that, oh, that translates into I need beer money, I'm broke. And so this is what Casey Anthony is doing. See, I remember these cases. This is even before I awakened to narcissistic abuse. I know these cases on one hand. Travis Alexander, brutally murdered, had his throat slashed, was stabbed multiple times, probably 20, 30 times, savagely murdered. And this girl, Jodi Arias, sat in court and just, they are always straightening the water pitchers and everything in the courtroom. They show no emotions. See, the world knows about this. I know I'm rattling on and on and on, but they know. When I say they, the powers that be, the media, the people who control mass media know. They know about what we know. And they know we know. They know about what we know because they are, in fact, what we're talking about. They are that. R&B singer just dies here recently. Her Mercedes van, travel van, flipped over with the driver driving it and hit a tractor trailer. She's the only one that dies. Chris Watts, Jodi Arias, Casey Anthony, and right here in my area locally, Caitlin Conley, poisoned the chiropractor, just got, I don't say exonerated, just got released, overturned her case, spent 7 years in prison. It is a lot of narcissistic personality disorder going on in our world, and it's sickening. You and I who are awake, we know, and they know we know. The way we move, they know we know. And this lady who just died in the accident where her van flipped over, and she's the only one that perished. She had made a video prior to this incident, maybe a month. She was beginning to make videos talking about Universal Music were taking her royalties. She had no idea about this. And she still at 63 years old, 65, whatever, was still working, selling hot sauce and different type of things to, trying to market herself again. She's a legend. And she exposed the industry. And just like DMX did his last video prior to his demise, Michael Jackson spoke out about things that the world at large are not even concerned about. because they were so fixated on that alleged allegation that he did some of the atrocious things that they alleged against him. It took his death for me to understand and believe in my heart that he never did those things. You know, and people say, well, you know what? Who sleeps with little kids? In the way that, you know, we imagine him sleeping with kids, I would say that that would be something of a concern. But I do believe Michael Jackson had such an angelic nature, and he had a childlike nature, that I don't believe those things could have ever been imaginable in his mind. Now, he's an exception to that rule. I don't know many other entertainers that were so transfixed with children as he was, in the way that he was. It was magical to just see him do that philanthropy work that he did. And it's very sad. Prince was speaking out. You and I, who are not superstars or celebrities, to the narcissists, we are a superstar. We are a celebrity. They look up to us. They just won't tell you that because they know we know. When they met us, they knew we knew something. And what we knew was ourselves. If you didn't know, now you know. That's what they mad about. They big mad because we know who we are and they don't. They're still looking for mama. And when they meet you, they are someone they believe is going to help them find themselves. And they're not lost. They are, but they aren't. All you got to do is look in the mirror, narcissist. Look in that mirror and not just look and adoring yourself, because they do that. They put the makeup, the mascara. They do the beard. They do the black spray line. They have the men. They're groomed to a T. The externals are through the roof. Nothing wrong with grooming yourself. Nothing wrong with taking care of self-care. But that is the only thing. That is their primary drive. And that's their primary concern, is how they look and how they're viewed by people. Yeah, they know we know. Society knows we know. Society knows that the jig is up. But how do they counter the ones who know? A lot of smearing going on. There's a lot of demising of people. There is a lot of slandering that is going on. So again, those narcissists that I described, going in, being obnoxious on the phone, trying to appear and be important, once you realize that the attention that we're giving them, they don't deserve it, nor should you continue to give it to them. They will just dwindle. They will just dissipate. They will go on down the road. And the more we as empaths awaken, don't sign on to this kind of stuff, the less of a threat that there will be. Because if they see that you're not interested in anything that they're putting down, they will readily understand that, you know what, it is becoming very, very hard to grab me the supply that I once used to be able to get so freely. And what they do is they decompose. There was an individual living down here below me among many of the atrocious people that have been living in the apartment house that I've been in since I've been here 15 years. The stories I could tell. But I believe I mentioned this once before, but the individual down below me, he was a Hispanic young man. He went from working at a barbershop here across town, had an Audi Audi A8, nice car. He was out of Philadelphia, Philly. All of a sudden, he ended up with a Spanish girl down there. One day I went to maintenance the apartment. I forget what I went to do. And lo and behold, they had a little dog and 2 cats. Didn't even know they had those things in there. But I began to be cordial, stayed about 5-10 minutes, took care of what I had to take care. Oh, it was the bathroom sink. I had to tighten the S-trap under there, which tends to loosen on a lot of sinks. So I fixed that. And I used to hear him arguing and talking and yelling and cursing at her, and then I hear the car, he'd get in, slam the door and skid off. And then one day I heard him out there saying, open the door, open the door. She had then got his keys, jumped in the car and locked herself in the car. And I guess that's because he used to just leave her here at the house and go and be gone all day and all night. So he essentially was holding her hostage. And one day, I don't know what day it was, looking back now, she ended up getting wherewithal, because she had a little daughter too and a son that, yep, they were little, 5 and 6 maybe at the most. Beautiful little kids. So what she essentially did was bounced. One day he came here and I think she had bounced and went back to Philly. Because when I went down there to fix that thing, I was like, hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah. And I say, hey, I didn't know you had your family here. And she said, because when he came in to rent, it was just him. And all of a sudden one day I come down there to fix this and he's got a whole family. So she said, comically, she said, yeah, he kidnapped me. And I'm looking at that situation now that I'm awakened. In 2020, when I awakened, I think he was still down there. Yeah, he was. No, he wasn't, because I rented the whole house. So this was prior to that. And I didn't know about narcissism. But after I woke up in 2020, I was able to revisit that situation with him. And I now know today that he was a narcissist. And what happened when she bounced, he went to work one day and she escaped. And I guess she got her money up and she got her kids, the cat, the dog, left him high and dry down there by himself. I mean, she didn't take anything, I don't think, that belonged to him. She just left and went back to Philadelphia. And he went on to go downward. So this all makes perfect sense. He went so downward. I believe she caused him such a narcissistic injury till he went and he hibernated down. Now, I think he quit the job. He began to do drugs. I think he was already doing them, probably smoking a little weed. But I think he began to start messing with the cake. And so when he finally left, there's the stories that I could tell you about some of the tenants that have lived in this building. And it's only a 2-family. And so this guy had not flushed the toilet in 6 months. I don't know what he was doing and how he was, I don't know what he was doing and how he was getting by, as far as I think he would probably go to the corner store and use the bathroom. But the point being, I don't know why the toilet hadn't been flushed. I was responsible for going down, getting the apartment back up to par to rent to other people. I didn't. I passed on it and I allowed the owner to recruit an agency to come in and do it. That's how appalled I was at the site. And with these most recent people that just left maybe 6 months ago was no different. I've washed my hands of that kind of stuff, because you got to understand, guys, you don't want the stench on you. You don't want the energy, so you don't deal with it for the most part. However, I did lay the new floors downstairs this most recent time when these people left. I did, however, do that. And I eradicated all the pests that were there. And I mentioned that before in a video. A big roach infestation. Never seen a roach in 15 years of being here. I don't believe it. If I did, I don't remember it. That's how less there have been roaches, ants, or any type of mice here. I mean, these things form, they come. Everybody's probably seen them once or twice in life. Probably didn't have anything to do with you or your living habits. But when you're living in a building with other people, this is what you have to deal with. And just like living in a world, you have to deal with narcissists. There's no way around them, guys. So to cap this video off, this is a really long video, but I'm just here to tell you, I'm not upset. I'm not jacked up or anything, but I really want you guys to capture this point. They know you know. The world at large knows that you know. And they know that there are certain people in the world that are waking up, that are becoming aware of their BS, and they are having to really think and plan and ponder what they're going to do to try to manipulate now. Before it came very easy. And you have to understand, these are not the type of people that can sit down and rationalize and reason and think. However, they can plot, but their plots are never thought out wholeheartedly. They only think for the instant gratification. They only think short term. Now, however, you may have high-ranking narcissists who are very manipulative, say like the Bernie Madoffs of life. They know how to Ponzi scheme. See, Ponzi scheme is more than just taking your money. See, narcissist Ponzi schemes you as an individual. They scheme you, whether you broke, got money, or whatever. It's not just financial gain with them. It's everything, all the above and all of the below. There is no stone unturned with the narcissist. I wish I could just go on and on and on with this, guys, but I don't want to belabor this. I think you get the message. They know, you know. Society knows. There's just so much in the media that is happening where I'm looking at Tiffany Henyard, the Chicago super mayor. Just to look at these clips of this woman, if you didn't know what narcissists look like, I want you to look at this woman. And most people in Chicago, to see those trustees go through that, the way she gaslights them, the way they're just jumping for joy now that she's out. But you got to understand, they're not really overjoyed in the way that they should be, because they're not awake. They're not awake. There's some people that probably have told them she's a narcissist. I reached out to actually one of the trustees through Facebook, saying congratulations for what being reelected. And I, however, mentioned in a text, hey, she has a personality disorder called narcissism. And I say these people don't, they don't care. They'll burn the whole house down and everybody in it, and they'll be looking at you like, I didn't do nothing wrong. And I don't know if anything connected with that, but I reached out and I did congratulate them, and I threw that in for good measure. And it's not something I typically do, but my heart went out to that city and that little town. It's kind of really unfortunate that woman was able to rule that long, but she got in with her looks, and she doesn't look that attractive, by the way. They get in with their sex appeal. They look and monitor who they need to rub shoulders with from long ago. She was a slumlord before she became a mayor. So people knew some of her dirty dealings before she even got elected. But they can get in cahoots with sometimes the same type of entities that they are. And this is what helps them go through the radar detectors undetected, if you will. I want to say more, but I won't. That being said, bless.